What's her name?
In Norway, trolls have always been a big part of our childhood. We grew up, watching trolls, reading about trolls, and I thought they would fit perfectly into this world for Hansel and Gretel.
Have to help Edward!
Yeah, Edward, who the fuck's Edward?
Edward's a really dynamic character. He is a slave of sorts to the dark side with witches. He's a servant underneath the ground working for these people.
I always love these characters that are, they might seem simple and they're kind of going a little bit back and forth. Are they good or are they bad? But they just have a big heart. And I think even though Edward starts out as a villain in a way, he's just got a good heart.
Only when he's out in the forest and sees the brutality of what Berenger and his men are doing to Gretel does he realize that this is a worse crime than he can stomach. I think that shows the audience that he has a heart and that he's got a soul. And our goal with Edward was to make him real and make him come alive, which speaks to Tommy's instincts about not making him a CG creation.
I said from the beginning I really wanted to be an animatic troll, because the animatronic creatures had this feel to them, if done right, they just had this own kind of soul, and I really wanted that.
Derek Mears is inside this suit, this creation. Derek is a big guy, and on top of him is an even bigger suit, so the effect is pretty great that there's this 8-9 foot creature in these scenes, talking with Gretel, holding Gretel, interacting with Berenger and his men. Of course, there's some help with computer graphics that we got as we finished the movie, but for the most part, he's a creation that existed on the set. And Derek was absolutely a part of bringing that character to life.
With the Edward character, it's pretty crazy. It's like I'm acting in a void, because my vision, I see out the character's mouth when it's open, but in the scenes, it's very rarely open. So you, as an actor, you almost have to take a mental picture of what you see, and you have to remember where that is for your movement, because during the scene, I'm completely blind.
What are you doing here? What's going on? I loved working with the troll, and because he was so imposing and so real looking, and even little expressions that he'd make, I can't help but feel affected by that. It was like working with a real person. It was challenging at times. I mean, the suit weighs triple my weight, but for me it was a gift because it was a real thing. Edward!
The head on this thing's this big, the hands are that big. It's a monster, and he's walking around this heavy. It's unbelievable what he had to do. There's a constant, like a hair dryer, cool air blowing in the mouth of this thing because it's physically exhausting and hot.
Tommy Mercola showed me an early version of the script, and we talked about some ideas that he had for Edward Troll. Once we arrived at a look that Tommy liked in the illustrations and in the maquettes, then we went on to build the full-size character. And we made some adjustments along the way. That the hands initially were too big, so we reduced the size of the hands. We made a couple of other minor modifications to make the performance come through. We have one person operating his eyes and his brows and the area around his eyes. One person operating all of his mouth movement, his jaw, and all the lip movement, including a tongue inside the mouth. And then there's one person each on each of his hands to operate the animatronic hands.
It's like I'm an astronaut in space. Like, you don't go into space by yourself. Yes, I am the astronaut and I control a lot of what's going on, but you have your guys on your intercom, you have, the guys who build this incredible ship that takes you to a place unknown. I feel very privileged to be a part of the team. It's challenging for me as an actor because I have partial control, but also you have to communicate with the guys from Spectral before we do a scene, like what the character's feeling and what the purpose of the scene is, to all kind of be on the same page.
How's it going?
Good to see you.
You too. He had a great team, and Derek did an amazing job portraying the innocence of Edward and, the simpleness of his mind, and there's subtleties to that performance, and that it really needs somebody like Derek to pull off. And there's a great scene, where he heals Gretel, and his performance is kind of how careful he is to Gretel and how insecure he is. It really shines through, and you know, it's without that Edward wouldn't have worked.
Edward, want to knock?